Hello, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Clerk Allison, could we please have a roll call?
Yes. Trustee Donnersberger is absent. Trustee Eck.
Present.
Trustee Farrell-Mayer.
Here.
Trustee Kennedy.
Present.
And Trustee Metz.
Here.
And Trustee O'Loughlin, also absent. And Mayor Hinshaw is here. All right, thank you. So we do have a quorum.
Thank you. If we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to tonight's meeting. We are broadcasting our meeting on Comcast Channel 6 in Indian Head Park only, of course, Facebook Live and YouTube, and then, of course, we record the meeting and we post it on our website. We had agendas up front. If anybody needs one, we can make more copies. Anybody need an agenda? Okay, I don't see any hands going up. First item is the mayor's report. Wolf Road update. On April 7th at 5 to 8 p.m., there will be a public meeting for the community members to come and see the Wolf Road alternatives. That meeting will be here in this Village Hall. We'll be seeking community feedback and comments for a couple weeks after the meeting. After that meeting, we'll have a form, and we'll have it at the meeting that you can fill out and provide your comments. And we will have everything posted about the meeting. We have made a post today about the meeting, and then we'll have another post between now and then, or a couple posts. And then after the meeting, we'll have details on our website about Wolf Road and the alternatives and how to submit comments. Village Sidewalk Master Plan, we have 4 areas, and we have a drawing or a board up here in the front that John reminds me that we usually have out for the meetings. So we have 4 areas. Acacia Drive, the northern half of Acacia Drive sidewalk will be starting soon and will be completed this year. There will be a new sidewalk from Acacia Drive to Black Hawk Park, also added this summer. Plainfield Road and Wolf Road both are county roads, and both are in a Phase 1 study. And as I said earlier, we have a tentative date of April 7th for an open house for the Wolf Road alternatives for resident review and comments. And then lastly, for the Sidewalk Master Plan Joliet Road, the board will hopefully approve tonight a task order to start the Phase 1 study of Joliet Road. We're looking to put a sidewalk in from Wolf Road up to Willow Springs Road. On our side, on the north side, we may also get one put on the south side, but so that people could walk safely to Tony's or somewhere, Brookhaven Plaza. Acacia Drive. David, if you could put that, or Andy. Acacia Drive, we are working on the northern section of Acacia Drive, and that will be starting no earlier than April 4th. And if you look at the diagram, that section that's in orange or pink, that will be closed once the project starts. So people living in Acacia will have one way out, as you can see, and that will be closed for the project duration. And David, or Andy, that one's not as important. That just means you can go south from the Village Hall, but so it'll be closed from Cascade to Nocona. And yes, thank you for highlighting that, Andy. And what they're doing is they're putting in a box culvert under the road, and we're waiting for the box culvert to be manufactured. And then at the end of that project, the whole thing, the road and the sidewalk, we will do the landscaping. And the board has committed to making Acacia Drive look good when completed. And a couple other quick updates. 294 Tollway, again to remind people that live close to the tollway, the southern half of the sound wall between Joliet and Plainfield Road will be removed this summer and then rebuilt. And the overall, the 294 project will be going until 2025. COVID-19 update. The governor has lifted his mask mandate, and we ask that if you are sick, please stay home, and hopefully we will get this behind us. And then lastly, if you can please, if you have not already, sign up to use Smart 911. This is a system that lets the police know information about who's in your house, how many people, what kind of cars you have, so that if the police come to your house, they have all that information that may help in case there's an emergency. All right, with that, I am done. Moving on to public comments. If anybody would like to make a public comment, you can come to the podium and address the board. And I don't see anybody moving that way. And we do have another opportunity near the end of the meeting. Okay, I will keep moving along to the consent agenda. Would somebody like to make a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as established.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sean and Chris. Any questions or comments for John or I or the board? Chris, are you prepared to read the financials?
Sure. For the month ending February 2022, as of January 31st, 2022, for cash on hand, we had $2.9 million. Total for all warrants for February, $452,145. Total revenues, $540,125. And the ending bank balance was, as of February 28th, was just a little over $3 million.
Thank you, Chris. Any comments or questions? Anybody? All right, Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Kennedy,
Aye.
Trustee Metz,
Aye.
Trustee Eck,
Aye.
and Trustee Kennedy. Kennedy.
I think you did, Kennedy.
You
Did I
started with me.
say Kennedy?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I'll aye again.
Farrell Mayor.
Aye.
Sorry. And then Trustee Donnersberger is absent, and Trustee O'Loughlin is absent.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, moving along to new business items. First up is a Boy Scout presentation about community gardens. Scout Egan Payne.
Hello, I am Egan Payne, and I am the active senior patrol leader of Troop 69 in Burr Ridge. I've been in scouting for 10 years and I'm currently working on my Eco Scout project with the village's garden committee to start the setup and construction of the community garden. In your board packets is an image of the raised garden beds and an estimated budget for the project, including the soil needed. As we continue with the project, I wanted to check with the village board to see if there was any questions or concern with the project before we went any further.
Anybody?
No.
Good.
Thank you.
Oh, I do. I guess I have one question. Sorry, I thought you had more. If somebody wanted to make a donation, how would they do that?
Right now we're still working out the specifics, but currently, I believe specifically Lisa at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I thought I had seen a flyer that you could scan the QR code.
That was for flower sales, which sadly ended the first of this month.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Tom, if I could, to be clear, that's Lisa with the village here. So
Yes.
people can come in here to the village. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Ordinance 2022-08.
I make a motion.
Thank you guys for coming.
Yes, thank you for doing that.
Sorry, Rita.
It's okay. I make a motion to pass, based on the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Ordinance 2022-08, an ordinance allowing as a special use and a variance for a shed at 6506 Howard.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Rita and Charlie. Is this Andy? Or,
Yeah, so the Planning and Zoning Commission, the chair is here, Noreen Costello. She can speak to it some too, but the commission voted 3-2 to recommend approval of a shed and to allow its placement outside of the buildable area. That's what the variance is for. The commission felt that from a screening perspective, it made more sense to allow the shed to be placed in the back of the lot so that it wasn't visible from the street, and that importantly, it wasn't also blocking the one of the main windows of the homeowner themselves. So they're recommending approval, and so is staff.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, we have, so the ordinance, I mean, what we have set up already is that you need to be within the buildable lot area.
That is the current criteria. The commission is along with the recommendation on these individual ordinances. The commission, and this is something we'll talk a bit more during the reports later. I know Trustee Farrell Mayor and Trustee Eck have a report on it too, but the commission is requesting that the board reconsider the policy to allow sheds to be built outside of the buildable area with the idea that, you know, if you have the sign off of the adjacent homeowners and they follow the other criteria, it makes more sense from a screening perspective sometimes to allow sheds to be placed outside the buildable area, because especially in Indian Head Park, the buildable area is very small, and it leads to situations like 6506 or 6500 Howard, in which the only place they have left for a shed is something that's right up next to like a window. So because of that, the commission recommended variance for this one, and also recommended modifying the shed ordinance going forward.
I'd recommend that we take a look at changing the ordinance then before we start allowing variances to it.
On that, a little ahead, but we're looking to amend the ordinance to make that shed placement more welcoming to homes and placement where there are now severe limitations. We've found that now that we've gotten into several of the individual requests for sheds, that the buildable area is too limiting, and in order to modify the ordinance, we need to hold public hearings. I was going to suggest that we start that process right away in order to do that. So I think that's excellent suggestion that we amend the ordinance to allow for more flexibility in doing that. And I'm looking for, and we support. I've been at the zoning meetings. I've support these recommendations. They were very, very thoroughly discussed and analyzed.
I have a comment about these two.
John?
If you look at the first two ordinances we're considering tonight, 22-08 and 9, both of these houses back up to either Acacia or a park, so they're really not backing up to a residence, so to speak. So I think some flexibility with these two instances is warranted or merited.
I guess what is the idea of keeping everything within the buildable area? Is that to keep an open view, or
It's
if you
an
put a
open
shed there,
view.
then you're not going to have that?
It is for the open view, but it is rather restrictive, and more restrictive than most other communities around us. What we're talking about in the buildable area, so if you have a 100-foot depth lot, you can't put anything in the back 40 feet of the lot line. So it does allow for a greater backyard area if you have a larger lot. So that is the reason. That's the requirement right now.
Yeah, I'd just still rather have the board look at amending the ordinance first before we would consider this.
From a timing standpoint, to do that, so let me back up for a second. Is this the shed that's there now
is going to stay in the same area, or are they going to?
So this is a new shed.
New shed.
New shed.
So that's, if we can get it done, I guess I agree with Chris, if we can get it done in time for them to be able to start building their shed. Like, I don't want us to hold them up through the summer where they can't put the shed in. That doesn't make sense to pass this tonight and then go back to the ordinance and redo the ordinance.
Yeah, but I'd rather have us do it right instead of just get it over with.
Do we have an idea on time frame, John, roughly?
I would imagine it would be at least 2 months for us to run the public notice, have the public hearings.
We have to have, 30 days for notice?
Notice thereabouts, and then scheduling it before planning and zoning, and then depending on how the schedule for planning and zoning, then it goes to the village board. So there is a time consideration for
And,
this.
I would say this also, of course, with zoning code, it's always open to interpretation, but I believe the interpretation of the majority of the commission was that the two homes had unique enough circumstances to merit a variance on their own, and that's why they recommended the variance, but then they also recommended looking to modify the code going forward because the problem is likely to continue.
Yeah, we're looking at Bartlett subdivision now, and we move to west of Wolf Road after that. What if we encounter it there? Are we going to make exceptions again, or are we just going to try to get it right from the beginning?
Well, and I think that's why it's good. It would be good to modify the code as well as this, so that when we start to move over and going forward for all, we can have one policy that we're going off of.
Chris, as I understand it, you're saying you'd rather have the ordinance be amended rather than go with the special use and variance here.
At this time, yes.
Yeah, this is, if the shed was built, it would be in front of a window, basically, if it has to be within the buildable area.
It's a difficult situation. But,
Andy, I got a couple questions. The shed has to be screened. What is a percentage, right? What is that?
Yeah, it's 75%
Of the three sides?
of the height
Height,
on
okay.
3 sides.
All right. And then I believe this vote on planning and zoning was 3-2.
This was, yeah.
Do you know what, I don't know if you can summarize what the 2 votes that were against this?
I don't want to speak for them, but essentially, I think it was that they felt that the buildable area requirement should stay the same. But I don't want to speak for them.
Okay.
Could we ask one of
Perhaps,
the commissioners to speak?
Chairperson Costello could speak to that for the board, because she was at the meeting.
Noreen, would you want to speak to that?
And Danielle's here, so if you disagree with something I say, we can. We were 2 persons short at the meeting, so it's unknown how the other 2 might have voted on this issue, because we were pretty close. I think the fundamental issue is, do homeowners, is it fair to require homeowners not to have an area to store things? In this day and age, between snow blowers and lawn equipment and bicycles and everything else. So if we say, yes, it's reasonable that homeowners should have a place to store these things, then where can you have it if there's no reasonable place to put it in the buildable area? That's where our discussion went. So 3 of us kind of fell along that line, that yes, that's reasonable. 2 felt that, no, the ordinance says that that's not allowable, and it's up to the homeowner to put up with the inconvenience of having a shed in the buildable area, as opposed to having it in the yard where more people could see it, theoretically. Although I think with the screening, that can be debated. So that's kind of where we fell.
And being down 2, not sure if it came back what the 2 would say, right? It might be...
Right. The 2 that were absent, we don't know how they feel about this issue.
If you don't mind, I have another question, Noreen. I believe in all these that have come before the board and planning and zoning, residents have signed off and they've agreed. Has there been any discussion about, a future resident? What if somebody moves in 10 years and they don't like it? Has that come up?
Do you mean a neighbor?
Yeah.
No, that didn't come up because I think logically that nobody wants to put an eyesore on their property and, it's not saleable and, that type of thing. So I don't know. And with the screening, I think we're going to be very cautious not to just allow a shed in the backyard. We want it so that it doesn't detract from the park-like environment of the village. We're all of us are in agreement on that. We don't want to ruin that.
And Andy, that screening becomes our responsibility. Let's say that I plant sheds around, bushes around my shed, and then they die. I guess my neighbor could call and say, Tom's
Yes.
bushes have died, and then we'd come out and say, Tom, you have to plant more bushes. Is
Yeah,
that right?
the screening has to be maintained. And I think, when talking about potential new neighbors not liking it, I mean, it's been brought up a little bit, but like Noreen was saying, most people want something that's going to look good. And also, if you're a prospective buyer and you don't like the aesthetics, don't buy the house, is my thought.
That's all for me. Thank you both. Anybody else? Other questions or comments?
Could I supplement that?
Yeah, I'm okay, yeah. Danielle is a member of Planning and Zoning.
Thank you. And I was one of the ones that voted no on these two particular sheds. And just speaking for the reason that I voted no, not because I don't think that the homeowner's needs are important or that they might need to consider alternative storage, but more along the lines of that's not how the ordinance is written. So I think the feedback that we gave is that if we wish to allow residents to place new sheds in locations that are outside of the buildable area, then I think the ordinance should be revisited. Because, we spent a lot of time in the Sheds and Fences Committee kind of structuring the language and the context of the ordinance, which is, I think, what we have now, today. And certainly, if we feel that needs to be revised, I think that should be the recommendation prior to just granting sheds that are new outside of the buildable area. That's just my personal perspective on it, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think for the record, John, I think earlier you said they back up to Acacia. I believe these two back up to Wilshire Green. Is that right? The park kind of on one side and then Wilshire Green on the both.
Yes.
All right, so other comments or questions? All right, so I think,
Well, yeah, I'd just like to add that, accent some of the comment that reviewing the ordinance I think is important, and I'd mentioned that we look to do that. The Planning and Zoning Committee has looked at these in depth and had great discussions, and would suggest supporting their recommendation.
okay, well, I think procedurally, Pat or John, you can help Rita. And Rita made the motion, Charlie seconded it, Chris suggested we wait. So that would be up to Rita to withdraw her motion or change her motion, is that right?
Or Chris could make a substitute motion. Or trustee, sorry.
Trustee Metz?
Yeah, okay. So I'd like to move to substitute. What am I substituting, Pat? How am I wording this?
Well, would you like to table it, or would you like to continue it?
Yeah, I think I'd like to table it until...
To give the Planning and Zoning
ordinance-
Committee the opportunity to
ordinance to be
consider a
looked at.
revised ordinance?
Yes.
Okay.
Well said, Trustee Metz.
I had some assistance.
All right.
Okay, so now he's
So that would
made
require
that.
a second.
All right. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
All right, so discussion on that. Is that right, Pat? Any comments?
Right.
So the idea here is to go back to the current ordinance and amend it with language for a homeowner whose buildable area is not conducive to holding a shed. So what you had said about a 100-foot lot, it has to be 40 feet. So that still gives a reasonable amount of area for somebody to build a shed. But in these lots, they sound like they might be not as deep. So to be in the buildable area, it's got to be right up next to the house.
Yeah, I would say it sound like when you say it's 100 feet, you can't build in the back 40. So it's like, oh, you got a whole 60, but that's 60 from the very front line.
Front of the house, right.
So, and oftentimes we find in the village homes that are technically non-compliant, homes that are technically outside the buildable area. It's just part of having the stricter setbacks that we do.
But Sean, I think you're talking about the amendment or the change to the ordinance. Right now, the discussion is, do we table this ordinance 2022-08? And then I guess the reason for doing that would be what you're saying. But
Right.
I don't know that we need to flesh all that out at this point. I think it's, do we approve 2022-08 or not at this point, or table it, right?
Yeah, but my concern is that this particular homeowner keep putting on the back burner until we decide how we're changing the language. So is there a way to say within a certain time frame that we could have this done? Or are we just hopefully...
Well, I think John said it'd be a couple months. I would think 3 months at most. I don't know. I mean...
Right, so just looking at the code, for amendment, there has to be not less than 15 days notice prior to the public hearing. So I'm not sure when the next meeting is.
More than 15 days.
Okay, so if that could be met, then I think 60 to 90 is probably a good bet in terms of getting it done.
Okay. Thank you.
And then our village attorney would draft the amendment, is what my understanding would be. Is that correct, or?
Happy to do that if that's how the board would like me to proceed.
Okay.
Well,
But I think-
staff would have some input to that.
Sure.
Yeah,
as
right.
well as anybody else who'd like to, from the board who would like to review that.
Right, so just kind of unpacking this, so the mayor's right, so the question on the table is whether or not this particular item gets tabled, and then the board could give direction to staff to proceed with the text amendment as part of later discussion. But you're right, Trustee Kennedy, in terms of the foundation for why the motion is made in terms of the tabling, it would be to pursue that further direction.
And I think Trustee Kennedy's comment, though, is worth considering, and that is the homeowner is taking the time and effort to make their petition through staff, and then to get on the schedule with planning and zoning to go through that discussion, make a presentation, and now we're putting it back another probably 60 to 90 days to do that. So and that would be the case in both of these next two.
Correct.
That the homeowner's already gone through a lot, and I don't see a problem with going ahead with these two, but also going ahead with the discussion with the amendment to the ordinance.
Yeah, but this has been ongoing for a couple years. When did the...
We've already done this before. This is
Yeah.
not our first one that that we've gone through with this.
Yeah, but we might not have gotten it right before, and it'd be great to get it right now that we recognize what's in front of us. A little bit longer after all these years, I can't see that there'll be any problem.
All right, other questions, comments? All right, so I think we are voting on the motion to table this. Is that right, Pat?
Correct.
And that was made by Chris and seconded by Rita. Is this a voice vote, Pat, or a roll call?
Roll call.
Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call vote, please?
So we will start with
Chris and Rita.
let me redo this. So this is for table. Trustee Betts.
Aye.
Trustee Earl.
No.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, yes. Trustee Eck.
No.
No. And Trustee Kennedy.
No.
So then that
they are
motion to table
choosing
has
to table
lost.
Has
yes,
failed,
that-
so
It's failed.
the prior motion is back on the table, which is to approve. That was made by trustee Farrellmayer and seconded by trustee Eck.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, could we have a roll call vote on the original motion to approve ordinance 2022-08 for 6506 Howard?
All right, trustee Farrell Mayor,
Aye.
trustee Eck,
Aye.
trustee Kennedy,
Aye.
and trustee Metz.
No.
Okay.
And 2 absences, so that one has been approved. Correct?
Correct.
Yes.
All right, next item,
Number 2, yes,
2209.
2209. I make a motion to pass based on the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Ordinance 2022-09, an ordinance allowing as a special use and a variance for a shed at 6500 Howard.
I'll second that motion.
thank you, Rita and Charlie. Any discussion? It's very similar to what we just did, but any additional comments?
Still feel the same way. But this one doesn't have, which one is this, 2209?
Yes.
Andy, this is outside the building area as well?
Yeah, this is the essentially the exact same scenario as the last.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's it. Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call vote, please?
I would like to know who made the motion and who seconded it.
Rita and Charlie.
Okay. Rita and
Charlie.
Charlie, thank you. All right, let's just follow that order. Trustee Farrell Mayor,
Aye.
trustee Eck,
Aye.
trustee Kennedy,
Aye.
and trustee Metz.
No.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that has been approved with a couple absences, of course. Rita, the next one, please.
I make a motion to pass based on the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Ordinance 2022-10, an ordinance allowing as a special use and a variance for a shed at 1734 65th Place.
I'll second.
Thank you, Rita and Charlie, again. Any comments, questions about this one?
Anything different on this one than the first two?
This one is an existing shed. That's it.
And I assume they're replacing in the same location? That's what they're
Yes.
asking for?
It's not even replacing. It's just for the shed in that location.
Oh, as it stands
Yeah.
now? Okay.
And
It's a unanimous vote by Planning and Zoning.
yeah, and the buildable area wasn't an issue for this one because the ordinance already allows for sheds to be existing sheds to be placed outside the buildable area if you can get the signatures of the adjacent homeowners. So for that reason, the buildable area issue is not relevant to this one.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Farrell Mayor,
Aye.
trustee Eck,
Aye.
trustee Kennedy,
Aye.
and trustee Metz.
Aye.
Thank you.
With the two
Two absent.
absences,
Would you
that
like
has
me to
been
name them?
approved? What?
Would you like me to name them?
No.
Okay.
I think we have to say that, right? No, we don't? Oh, I'm sorry then.
Thank you.
My bad.
Did you say we did?
We don't.
No.
Do not.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
We got it at the beginning. They're still not here.
Yeah. Okay, Rita, next one.
I make a motion to pass based on the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Ordinance 22-11, an ordinance allowing as a special use for a fence at 1734 65th Place.
I'll second.
Thank you again, Rita and Charlie. Andy, is this you? Do you want to
Yes.
fill us in since this is a fence, I
Yes.
believe, our first fence?
This is an existing fence, and the commission voted unanimously to recommend that the fence be granted a special use to be compliant but the stipulation is that it has to be removed prior to the sale or transfer of the property, but that the removal would be at the expense of the village. And I know, again, the commissioners can speak to why they recommended, but a large part of it was kind of an acknowledgement of the village's failure in the past to enforce the ordinance, as well as the reality that came up during the process that we found out that when the village was doing resale inspections, and they would have somebody from the building department or public works go out to do the inspection, they would mark down no zoning violation, no building violation when there were non-compliant structures there. So that's why I believe the commission recommended that it be at the village's expense. And, staff really doesn't have any issue with this. It's not going to be a tremendous burden on staff. It'll be a day of labor for Public Works, if that. So.
All right, any questions or comments on this item?
What kind of a fence is it?
It's chain link.
Chain link?
And we stopped doing the home inspections 5 years ago or something, Rita?
Quite a while,
Approximately?
yeah.
The current ordinance that we have set up calls for chain link and cyclone fences, I think they're also referred to not be allowed in the village, correct? Why are we allowing this one then?
Well,
I think we would allow it until time of sale.
yeah, that was the compromise, yeah.
But does the current ordinance say we would allow those fences until a sale was reached? I thought,
No.
so
The
I'm trying to understand why we're getting a special use here.
I think under the current ordinance, we wouldn't allow any fence.
Or with a variance.
Well, yeah, but there were certain fences that would, and they were called corral
Cowboy
fences,
fences.
cowboy fences. Yeah, but I thought chain link were a hard, fast no.
This was a pre-existing fence, correct?
Yeah.
That dates back how long?
This one is at least 33 years old. That's when the property owners bought the home. And I think part of the reason that the recommendation is there is, especially in the Bartlett homes, you have fences that were there either prior to annexation, or new homeowners have bought the properties in between the time. So I think that's why you have the recommendation. But again, the commissioners are here too.
What was the vote on this one?
It was
5-0?
unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you.
This one and the other fence ones.
Other questions or comments?
Does the ordinance specifically state the village would pay to remove the fence or the homeowner when they move?
No, the village. It should be
It
in there.
did state the village?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Removal of the fence shall be performed or paid for by the village.
okay, thank you.
And again, we would expect to do that in-house, right? Public Works
Yeah,
staff.
yeah.
But they could change, but that would be the plan today. Other comments, questions? All right, I don't see or hear any, so Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Farrell Mayor,
Aye.
Trustee Eck,
Aye.
Trustee Kennedy,
Aye.
and Trustee Metz.
Aye.
Thank you.
That has been approved, thank you. Next up, Rita, are you going again?
Yes, now am I on 12 or 13?
You're on 12.
Thank you. I make a motion to pass based on the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Ordinance 2022-12, an ordinance allowing a special use and a variance for a shed at 6547 Howard.
I'll second.
Thank you, Rita and Charlie, again. Any comments about this one, Andy?
Yeah, this is an existing shed. It's been there a long time. The vote was 5-0 to recommend.
Any questions or comments? Clerk Allison, are you ready for a roll call vote? Please.
Trustee Farrell Mayor,
Aye.
Trustee Eck,
Aye.
Trustee Kennedy,
Aye.
Trustee Metz.
Aye.
Thank you.
That has been approved.
Okay, I make a motion to pass based on the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Ordinance 2022-13, an ordinance allowing as a special use for a fence at 6547 Howard.
I'll second.
Thank you, Rita and Charlie. And Andy, I believe this is very similar to the last fence.
Very similar to last fence. It's been there a very long time. And it was 5-0 vote.
Any questions, comments? Clerk Allison, if you're ready, could you do a roll call vote?
All right, Farrell Mayor, Trustee
Aye.
Farrell Mayor, please. Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Kennedy.
Aye.
And Trustee Metz.
Aye.
Thank you.
That has been approved. You're doing great, Clerk Allison. Thank you.
I make a motion to pass based on the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Ordinance 2022-14, an ordinance allowing as a special use and a variance for a shed at 6624 Howard.
I'll second.
Thank you again, Rita and Charlie. Andy?
Yeah, so this is for an existing shed. The only thing that's slightly different about this one is the property owner actually had 4 sheds, and so one of the stipulations is that the other 3 sheds would be removed as part of granting this special use. And that's it. It was a 5-0 vote.
Was there, out of curiosity, was there a timeline for removal?
So what we're going to do is in July, when we do our screening inspections, we're going to also see what's there and then just work with the homeowner on an individual basis.
Are there any other questions, comments about this? Okay, I don't hear or see any. Moving along. Clerk Allison, if you're ready, please.
Trustee Farrell Mayor.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Kennedy.
Aye.
And Trustee Metz.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
That has been approved. Thank you all for working through those. Next one up.
I make a motion to pass ordinance 2022-15, an ordinance authorizing village to apply for a loan from the IEPA for pump station improvements in an amount not to exceed $1.5 million.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sean and Charlie. John, is this you?
Yes. So as you know, part of our capital plan is to improve the pump station for our water system, which is right behind Village Hall. We have a severe need to upgrade the electrical panel and the pumps in the pump house. So we're proceeding with that capital improvement. One of the things that's available to us that we learned the last time with our water main replacement program is we can go through the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency for a loan. It's a low interest loan, but the kicker is we're now eligible for loan forgiveness. So at our last water main program, which was about a $2.5 million job, we got $1.5 million in loan forgiveness through the federal government. So we're hoping lightning will strike twice. So this ordinance will give the mayor and myself authorization to proceed with the IEPA to obtain the loan and hopefully have some loan forgiveness. In the event that we don't have loan forgiveness, we have cash on hand to do this work, but we're just trying to save a few dollars. So I recommend that you pass the ordinance.
Any questions?
Yeah, John, roughly last time on the 2.5, how long did it take for the forgiveness to happen? And do you expect, if it happens again, to be the same?
It was before the end of the project.
Okay.
So we didn't even have to pay a dime on the loan, and then we had the 1.5 million loan forgiveness.
Okay.
And that loan, we have one payment left?
One and $50,000. One payment and $50,000. So it was normally a 30-year loan. We're paying it off in about 3 years because we have the cash on hand and we have the loan forgiveness.
And the money that we have for this project and the last project, the $2 million project, where did that come from?
It came from the water rate increase that we did at the end of 2015, 2016. As you know, we really jacked up our water rates at that time because we were so far behind in capital improvements. Since that time, we collect enough every year to do substantial work in the water system. And it's a good thing, so just planning on our part.
And I know when we went through that, we were talking about the age of our water pipes and how they were getting close to life
Correct.
expectancy. I don't think we ever talked about the pump house and the million plus. So hopefully there aren't any other bigger projects in our water system.
The only other project coming up is repair to the reservoir, and that's part of our capital plan for the year. In fact, you'll be approving, hopefully, a task order tonight authorizing that work. But that's pretty much it for the water system as we see it right now. As a note, the village provides water to about 85% of the residents in the village. The other 15% get their water from LaGrange Highlands Sanitary District, which is a separate taxing body altogether.
But the entire village doesn't pay for the water system.
Correct.
Just the residents that use it.
Only the water users pay for it.
Any other questions or comments? I don't see any. Clerk Allison, a roll call vote, please.
Yes. Trustee Kennedy.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Metz.
Aye.
And Trustee Farrell Mayor.
Aye.
Thank you.
That's been approved. Thank you all. Next item up. An ordinance 2022-07, an ordinance prohibiting parking on 70th Place / Eastern Avenue.
I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 2022-07, an ordinance prohibiting parking on 70th Place and Eastern Avenue.
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris and Rita. John, is this you?
Yes, this came at the request of the Public Works and Police Departments. Right now, a large number of truckers are just leaving their trailers on the street on 70th Place, which is on the very southern end of the village, where our Public Works facility is, and they're parking the trailer, leaving it there temporarily or overnight sometimes, getting the cab fixed, and then coming back and picking up their trailer. It's nothing to do with anybody who's already out there or any of the properties on 70th Place. This is just truck drivers coming in, using our road for storage, and we're going to post it no parking so that we can at least prohibit parking from happening on 70th Place and ruining the road. And in case they do park, we do have a ticket process in place to find them.
Thank you. Questions, comments? All right, Clerk Allison, we're keeping you busy tonight. Could you do a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Trustee Kennedy.
Aye.
Trustee Farrell Mayor.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
And Trustee Metz.
Aye.
Question, when would this be effective? Or when would you get the signs out, is the real question? Roughly, a month?
They're already out.
Thank you, sir.
I need
Okay.
to move my car.
We're not ticketing, but they're already out.
Moving along, engineering task orders.
I make a motion to approve the engineering service task orders for Thomas Engineering in the amount not to exceed $109,760.56 for the 2022 road program.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sean and Charlie. John?
Part of our ongoing capital plan is that we have a road program where we try to do a certain number of roads every year. This year we received, or last year also, we received a total of about $500,000 in grant money from the state of Illinois, and they are pushing me to spend this grant money for road improvement, so we're doing a slightly larger project than normal. What the task order will do is Thomas Engineering will do the design of the project, bid out the project for the village, and supervise construction once we accept the bids. And part of this also will be reimbursed. We're doing some part of this work with the Wilshire Association. They're going to tag on replacing some of their parking lots with this, and they will pay for part of the engineering for this work as well.
This is just for the engineering cost. This is not for the actual road repair.
Correct. This is engineering and construction inspection.
And do we have the road repair cost someplace else?
They're estimating it to be about $800,000 for that, and it's included in the budget for the year. There is a question that you raised to me earlier about the cost of asphalt, and we are anticipating an increase in asphalt. I guess it's going to be between 10 and 20% for the asphalt, which is a part of the overall project. We won't know until we actually get the bids in. So, and then we can always make adjustments accordingly with what roads we do. But that is a concern of mine, so thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments?
Yeah, I just want to add that we used to, the former boards used to figure out where they were going to get the money to do the roads, and in 2014, we had a bond referendum to get our roads redone, and we're paying for that through 2029. We've gotten our act together, and we're not asking the residents for anything additional to repair our roads, and we've got a regular program to keep up with them. And so we're looking good, and hopefully the prices don't come in too high with all the increases we're seeing, but if they do, we'll figure out what to do at that time.
Chris, how are we paying for that road bond 2014?
Various funds in good
Property
fiscal
taxes.
management.
The 2014 bond issue, property taxes.
how we
John,
paying
you
for
want to,
that?
you want to speak
Oh,
into whoever?
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about the one coming up.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely, that was a referendum that was passed by the residents.
And so that's on the property tax bill, right?
Yes.
So when you said we're paying for it, we, the residents, not the village, but the residents pay for that.
Correct. Good clarification.
Line item on the tax bill. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Clerk Allison, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Kennedy.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Metz.
Aye.
And Trustee Farrell Mayor.
Aye.
Thank you.
That has been approved. Next item up. Task orders for Strand.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve a task order for Strand Associates in the amount not to exceed $83,900 for Joliet Road water main construction. Also from Strand Associates in the amount not to exceed $55,800 for the reservoir repairs, and for Strand Associates, subject to state of Illinois funding, in an amount not to exceed $233,046 for Joliet Road sidewalk construction. Is there more to that?
In a
I'll second.
Charlie, thank you. Sean and Charlie. You want more, Sean?
No, that was
I
good.
think that's-
Thank you.
John, do you want to tell us what those are about?
Yes, there are three distinct task orders. The first one is for water main replacement along Joliet Road. It's a main feeder line into the village from our connection at Countryside to basically Wolf Road. We've noticed a number of water main breaks historically over there over the last few years, and that is part of our water main replacement program. You'll also be getting, probably at the next meeting, an additional task order for replacement of the water main on Roofers Road, which is just north of Flag Creek. We've had a larger number of water main breaks in that area this week. It's a private road, but we have an easement for a water main, so we're starting to bust up their area and having a lot of leaks. And it's very important that we replace our water mains because we pay a lot for water to purchase bulk water. And so every water main break is literally hundreds of or thousands of dollars down the drain. So we want to keep up on that.
John, I believe in our capital plan, Roofers Road wasn't due for a few years, but due to the recent number of breaks, we moved that up
Correct,
on the list.
yes.
That's part of managing the capital
Correct.
plan, right?
And anything with a road or water mains, you make your best guess, and as the day approaches, sometimes things are reevaluated. The second task order is for the repair or rehabilitation of our reservoir at the pump station. It is the flat area just next to our pump station. It's the flat black, looks like a court. Well, that's the roof of a 500,000 gallon reservoir. So we're doing some work on that, and that will be done in conjunction with our pump station improvements. And the final task order is subject to state of Illinois funding for Phase 1 engineering, which is preliminary engineering for a sidewalk along the north side of Joliet Road. We have a grant from the state of Illinois for the construction of sidewalk on Joliet Road, or at least they've committed funds for it. And so we're starting that process. And if the state turns out not to have the money for us, that's why it's subject to state funding. So
How much was that state funding?
$4.2 million total.
Yep. All right, any questions about any of the 3 Strand task orders? I don't see any. Thank you, John, for that explanation. Clerk Allison?
Trustee Kennedy.
Aye.
Trustee Eck.
Aye.
Trustee Metz.
Aye.
And Trustee Farrell Mayor.
Aye.
Thank you.
That's been approved. Okay, we're taking a little break from approving stuff. Andy, website update?
Yes. So I just want to give a brief update on our website. As we've talked about a little bit at previous meetings, we are currently working with Civic Plus, who is our website provider, to revamp the aesthetics and organization of the website. Civic Plus has been working on and will be working through near the end of April on the revamp. And internally, village staff is looking at all of the pages of the website as well, to make sure everything's up to date, see what we can clean up, if forms need to be updated, things like that. I do have just one thing to share, a photo. This is from Civic Plus. They call it a mood board. It kind of shows the kind of color scheme and theme that we're going to be going with the website. David, could you project the picture? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, let me share my screen. You're right. All right, thank you, yeah. All right, so as you see, we're going with kind of a natural theme, kind of highlighting the natural beauty of the village, lighter color scheme, light blue, green, lighter red, another light blue. And so that's kind of what we're going at for our website. Another thing to update you on is we are exploring a new platform for credit card payments. We're going to try to transition to what's called Illinois ePay, and the big thing there is that there would be no processing fees for residents to pay online. We hope to get that going in the new fiscal year as well. And that's really all I have for the website.
Andy, on that,
Yeah.
Eileen Donnersberger has made comments on our website in the past, as well as working on Ashbrook's website, so would strongly suggest that you share drawings and plans with her as well.
Sounds good, yes.
Communication committee.
Yeah,
is involved.
and the communications committee has been looped in on this
Eileen
too,
is
so,
on.
yeah.
Charlie, Eileen's on the communications committee, right? Yeah. And Andy, Civic Plus, that's the firm that you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
They have dozens of sites around us, so they're
They are one of the big ones for municipal websites, yes.
all right. Thank you. Any questions for Andy? Okay, I think you're up again with the village-wide survey presentation, Andy.
David, can you, I got to share again. 1 second.
While you're doing that, was that sent to residences or individual citizens of Indian Head Park?
Was what sent?
The survey.
Oh, the survey. That was sent to each resident or residence home.
Okay, so if there are 2 people in a home, then the survey just went to 1.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so major takeaways from the 2021 Village of Indian Head Park Community Survey. So first, why did we do a survey? Well, for one, to our knowledge, to staff's knowledge, this is the first time that a comprehensive survey has been done. And we really just wanted to get our finger on the pulse of the residents and to use that information to determine future goals and to analyze what we're doing well and where we can improve. First thing that should be mentioned is in regards to the results and how accurate the results are, how representative they are. We sent physical survey documents to all 1,853 households in the village, and we received 285 of them back, 222 in paper, 63 online. And based on that response rate, we had a margin of error of 5.3%, which means that the results of the survey are representative of the overall community's opinion within 5.3%, so plus or minus 5.3%. And for surveys, typically the number is between 4 and 8%, so 5.3% is a pretty accurate number.
So if somebody says, or 75% of the responses came back positive, let's say, or good, that could be 80%, it could be 70% in reality. There is a margin of error, but it's a pretty good indicator of how accurate the survey is.
Yes, and so I just want to go over some of the major takeaways, some of the major findings of the different categories within the survey. First, on quality of life, 91% of residents rated overall quality of life as excellent or good, and 88% of residents would recommend to a friend to live in Indian Head Park. On safety, 87% of residents feel safe or very safe in the village generally, and 75% of residents feel safe or very safe on village streets at night. For public works, 85% of residents think that the village does an excellent or good job at snow and ice removal, which they definitely do a good job. And then for street lighting, this is the reason why I have this one broken down, is this is the category out of all of the services that was rated the lowest. 60% of residents rated street lighting as excellent or good, 23% as fair, and 17% as poor or very poor. For communications, one of the big takeaways, and I know this was discussed at a previous board meeting about the smoke signals newsletter, well, one of the big takeaways is that smoke signals is the primary source that residents get their information about the village from, with 96% of the respondents citing the newsletter as a source for information on the village. The number 2 source was the village website at 42.1%. And then also, this is something we can be proud of. Of course, we want to build on it to increase the number, but 77% of residents believe that the village does enough to communicate with them. Other major takeaways, 71% of residents would like the village to support efforts by Cook County to build bicycle and sidewalk infrastructure on Wolf Road. This is directly related to the alternatives that we'll be seeing next month at April 7th, at the April 7th meeting. So that's very useful information to have.
Andy, that's the way that question was asked was leading, and in my view, it didn't separate between bicycle paths or sidewalks on separate sides or dealing with issues related to Wolf Road. So I'll just make a note
Sure.
that
It's
I thought
general
the question was leading, and I'll leave it at that at the moment.
Okay. 73% of residents do not visit the Heritage Center at all, and 18% of residents visit it 1 to 2 times per year. 9% of residents go every few months or more. So the attendance to the Heritage Center was less than we had what we would like. So that's something to consider moving forward too. Overall, government operations, 74% of residents rate the village's government operations as good or excellent. 18% of residents rate it as fair, and 5% of the village's government operations as poor or very poor. And I wanted to also show how do we compare to the United States averages and also to the Great Lakes region. This information is from, this comparable data is from the National Research Center, which is an organization that does or handles a lot of benchmarking surveys for municipalities. Obviously, we did not use them. We did it internally, but I think we can be proud that on all of these major categories, we are either considerably ahead or at least somewhat ahead of the United States average and the regional average. And in conclusion, staff is pleased with the amount of data collected and the overall results of the survey. And we also know that there's room for improvement in street lighting or infrastructure for children to get to school. That was another thing that was mentioned a lot in the survey, as well as business attraction. The lack of retail businesses in town was something that was commented on quite a bit in the survey. And that's all I have about the survey.
Thank you very much, Andy. Questions or comments? Don?
Trustee Eck, you raised a very good question, and we will do follow-up surveys. This was a rather lengthy and comprehensive survey. Now we want to drill down in certain areas to see really what people think and get better data, especially over time. So your comment about the Wolf Road and pathways and sidewalks, we will have it on a future survey and have a more in-depth series of questions pertaining to that subject.
Yeah, if we're going to cut down a lot of trees on the west side of Wolf Road to accommodate sidewalks and bike paths, results might be a little different. So come, I think, April 8th, we'll have an opportunity to see what the county might be recommending.
It
in
was
that regard.
April 7th
Yeah,
for the
and-
meeting.
And likewise, if
I'd
people
be a
see
day
the
late then,
entire,
wouldn't I?
if people see the entire plan, their opinions might be different as well. So I think it's got some shortcomings to say that they're going to cut down the trees and it's going to be awful when you don't know exactly what the plan is. So I think we should wait and see what it is, and then we could start making comments on it. If we get improvements are needed, I'm sure we could do that.
Yeah,
Andy, I wanted to
it's
thank
just
you
that
for the
question
work
that I
that you
had a
did. I
question
think
on.
it's great that you did this. We haven't done one in a while. I know you had help in the staff, so thank you. I know Lisa's here, and I'm sure John had a little bit to do with this. I know it's a lot of work, so thank you.
Yeah, Lisa was a great help.
And I think, John's point about Wolf Road, maybe drilling down on that, I think another one that we've talked about is maybe the street lights.
Yes.
60%, what was the number, 60%?
60% say it's good or excellent. The 23% said fair and 17% said
So I think
bad.
a knee-jerk reaction would be great, let's put in more streetlights. But some residents may not like a street light out in front of their house,
Yeah.
right? And so I think having a question or a survey specifically on streetlights can help us guide that going forward. Also, we do research, maybe look at other communities, and we see how many streetlights we have per block or per mile compared to, so there's work to be done, and that's what this survey has done, is given us some feedback on our operation and what we do. Any other questions, comments?
Nice work, Andy.
And I have one more. You highlighted in conclusion the infrastructure for school to commute to school. I think that anytime a kid can walk to school, that's wonderful, or bike. So I'm all for that personally. And I think that's something that we've been working on. I know I've been in the village 21 years and been working on it almost since I got here. So I'm all for that. And we have a couple schools in the village, and both of them have their issues with kids getting to school. Okay, I think that's it, unless there's any other comments. Okay, we're going on to village goals. So we started this last month. I'm going to do a summary and then have the board give their thoughts. Every year, the village board puts down kind of a wish list or village goals potential. They don't have to involve spending money, but some of them do. So this year we had 12, and there are two that probably should not have been on the list, and one of them is the better sound system for Village Hall at $5,000. The way we work in the village for our cameras and our systems, we're part of a cable consortium. And so I think if we need microphones, that would be something that the consortium would pay for. So I don't know that it needs to be a village goal. And I think tonight, look quickly to the crowd. Has anybody had trouble hearing us tonight? I think we as a board need to get better at speaking, but we also need to check the video that goes on the website, because occasionally we'll have feedback from that. So
I think we have trouble tonight with the video going out.
It's okay.
Is it okay now? Okay, took a while, I guess.
Thank you. And the other one that I think probably should not have been on the list is Acacia Drive landscaping if needed for $25,000. This board has talked about Acacia Drive for a few years, and the board committed to making Acacia Drive look good, so I don't know that that needed to be on the list. So there were 12 goals, and I'm going to talk about the ones that we talked about last month rather than go through the other 10. On the list of rankings that the board had done as a draft, it was not a vote, but a way to help prioritize the long-range planning for village staff facilities, and that's estimated to be $80,000 is one. Number 2, savings for potential Wolf Road landscaping is 2, and that was listed as $1 million, but obviously we couldn't save $1 million, but we could save some money. Number 3 is triangle facade improvements for $350,000, but last month we really didn't talk about that. But the other one that we talked about was more community events for $10,000, and the fourth one that I believe we spent time talking about was Sacagawea Park improvements, install power, and that's $10,000. So the board, it's up to you. John, how much money have we approximately allocated in the budget?
$180,000.
So this is a point for the board. Hopefully we can get to a summary and select on our 1, 2, 3, 4 goals, whatever it is.
So Tom, when with regards to Acacia Drive, we've sort of already got money set aside for that.
Correct.
So that's
That's why it should have come out, yes.
I agree. Okay.
That
Thank
was
you.
a mistake on my part. Other questions, comments? Again, looking for the board to say we want, these 3 or these 2 or this 1. And it's the trustees, not me, right? This is, don't get
Sure.
a vote.
Yes, you do. I definitely want to see us save money for Wolf Road to make sure that we can do something good there. And of course, like I just said earlier, we don't know exactly what the plan is going to be, but if we find out we don't need to save any money, we could always divert that elsewhere, but I think we should start planning for that.
In addition to that, I would like to see the community events, more of those be planned and funded by the village. And also, and this is kind of in my own self-interest, but I would like to see power brought to Sacagawea Park, since I live down the street.
We're already working on that.
And we have our block party there, and we do need power every year.
It's Sacagawea Park and Blackhawk Park for power.
Great.
And our chief of police also is looking to have emergency phones located at both parks, where you pick up the phone and it dials 911 dispatch immediately.
So are you saying we're going to do it, so it doesn't need to be a goal?
We're working on it, and the phones as well. So,
Okay. All right, so I've heard from Rita and Chris, Sean or Charlie.
So Tom, can you just run down again, taking those 2 out now, since we've seemed to already have them accounted for? Can you give us the top 5, excluding those?
Long-range planning for village facilities, $80,000, saving for Wolf Road, and then more community events, Sacagawea Park improvements, and I think facade improvements would be the 5th.
Just want to say facade improvements are not on my list at all. It's a private property, fully leased, and I can't see why they would need our aid.
Any other comments, Sean or Charlie?
Definitely Wolf Road for me.
Yeah, definitely Wolf Road, that's coming up. Knowing the staff's need for expansion and the staff facilities, I think that's part of our long-range planning, and that's an investment in the future. I would agree with Rita, more community events and power for Sacagawea Park with that. My view on the facade is that if we improve or assist in improving that facility, does that increase sales and thereby increase sales tax that would benefit Indian Head Park. And I don't know the answer to that question.
All right, so I think everybody agreed saving for Wolf Road, so it sounds like that one is in the list, is one. And I have two for more community events and Sacagawea Park improvements.
And I would concur with all of those, but also add the $80,000 for the village and staff accommodations.
I would agree with that as well.
Right.
As would I.
Okay, so if we do those, then it's 80, 10, and 10, so that means long-range planning for village facility at 80,000, more community events at 10,000, and again, these are estimates. Sacagawea Park improvements for 10,000, so that's 100,000, and then that would leave approximately 80,000 for Wolf Road improvements if needed. And I think that 180,000, that's the placeholder. That could go up or down 10 or 20 or 30,000 depending on how we do. So if it goes better, maybe we save more than the 80,000. Is that what everybody is believing? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Very good, thank you. We are moving on to the next item. Public hearing for the budget and capital plan.
I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing regarding the 2022-2023 budget and capital plan.
I'll second.
Thank you, Chris and Sean. This you, John?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I need a vote, sorry.
Voice vote?
Voice or roll call? Voice vote. Voice vote. All in favor of opening the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, we are open to the public hearing. Thank you, Pat. John?
Okay, this is the second look at the budget for the 2022-2023 budget and capital plan. We hit on it briefly last meeting, and we will have the formal approval at the April meeting. So the hardest part of this presentation is giving information to a group of people with very diverse interests. Some of you really want only the high level, and others want the details, and I hope to strike a balance over the next several minutes. First and foremost, the entire budget is either tax dollars or user fees that you have to pay. You have very little choice in this, and the board and staff are very much aware of this. Granted, we're getting about $2 million in grant funding in the new budget, but it's still tax dollars at work. And I think it's really important to acknowledge this. We have three main areas of the budget. The general fund, which is general operations, special funds, which is like the motor fuel tax fund, the vehicle sticker fund, things that we account for separately, and then the water and sewer fund. Like I said earlier, about 85% of the village is part of the water and sewer department here. The other 15% have nothing to do with Indian Head Park water or sewer. So I'm going to talk a little bit about these. Mostly what I'm going to talk about is the day-to-day operations of the budget, and our assistant village administrator, Andy, is going to cover the capital plan. And I'm not really going to drone about numbers except in generalities. So if you have any questions about something specific, please ask, or give me a phone call tomorrow or over the next several days, or just send us a note on our webpage. We will post all answers on our webpage. In all areas, we have a balanced budget. We're not borrowing because we have to. We're only going to borrow because we want to, and we just talked about the IEPA loan earlier. Revenues will exceed or equal expenses in all areas, and this is what we refer to as a balanced budget. We're spending within our means. Doesn't mean we're doing everything we want to. We're doing what is important, what we consider to be critical for the operations of the village. On the tax side, we use conservative revenue estimates And we use a number of different methodologies to determine what revenues we're going to get. Historical trends are common. We also use estimates from the Illinois Municipal League as main sources of information. So the revenue projections are fairly accurate, and we update these every month. And so we'll probably have some minor changes between now and next month, but they will be minor. Remember a couple years ago when COVID hit? Well, we were able to pivot rather quickly to reduce our budget because we didn't know what was going to happen. And as an aside, COVID did not have a negative impact on village finances. So all in all, we expect revenues from our main area to be about 2% more than we did for the current fiscal year. On the admin side, things are staying fairly consistent with prior year budgets. The big thing is that we are moving forward with digitizing our records and improving our technology platforms. We're also doing our best to communicate with you via different methodologies. We use Simplicity right now as one of our main sources to get messages out to you. So please sign up for that, or just sign up for enhanced or the emergency 911 system, Smart 911. On the public works side, we expect to provide the same level of service to you with our current 4 employees that we've had for forever, plus a couple part-timers. Also, the main changes here is we're going to further embrace digitizing our maps and implementation of a GIS mapping system. We just want to make the department more efficient and have information to pass down as staff changes. On the police side, we have budgeted for 10 full-time officers plus 1 admin support person. We also have budgeted up to 15 part-time officers. With all of this, we try to have at least 3 officers on duty at any given moment. Sometimes we have more, but we try never to have less. We're also installing video surveillance systems, cameras at main intersections of the village. We're starting slow, and we will be evaluating 2 systems over the next several months, and that is ongoing as we speak. On the capital side, the village will look to finish Acacia Drive in early spring this summer. This is being paid for 70% by federal money. So the village committed 30%, the feds are paying 70%. We'll also receive about $500,000 in American Rescue Plan funding, $675,000 in state grant funding for our road program and for the sidewalk on Joliet Road. And we'll have about $500,000 in county funding for the finalization of the Wolf Road study. On the water side, 85% of the village receives water from us, 15% from the Highlands. We have very high water rates. We know that. We're at the very end of a straw. The city of Chicago provides water to the village of McCook, who gives it to the city of Countryside, who sells it to us. So everybody adds on a little bit to the cost of water. We're at the far receiving end. We have a very small population, and our water rates are high. We know this. We're also going to be getting a rate increase from Countryside, which will be about $3 a month right now. We're evaluating their methodology right now. We know our rates are high, and we're looking at ways to reduce costs. This could be joining another water system or other options. We're evaluating it. That's the important thing to know. Things of this nature are very expensive, and it takes time to do the study. There are 2 takeaways from all of this that are very important. First, pensions. There's a lot of talk about underfunded pensions, especially police pensions. Because of our population, all employees are part of the Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund. And as of our current fiscal year, we are 95% funded in the pension, which is wonderful. You can't get much better than that. Market fluctuations happen. Sometimes we'll drop to 90%, sometimes go up a little bit. But the main takeaway is our employees are guaranteed a pension, and it's funded by the village fully. And that's great news. The other side is we have a commitment to a capital plan. Our roads our water and sewer mains, our infrastructure in general. We have a plan for how to address this in the future. We didn't really have a great plan before, 7 years ago. We have a plan now, so we know where we're going and how much it's going to cost, so we can plan for it. And as you've heard me talk about this before, whenever we get an extra dollar in, I always look to send it to capital. Of course, it's the board's call, but we know that capital infrastructure is critical, that it's a nationwide issue, and we're doing our best to take care of it. The goal is to spend money consistently over the course of time so that we don't have budgetary surprises. For instance, our squad cars. We have 7 cars in our fleet. Well, we replace 1 car every 7 years. That way we don't have to replace a couple cars in 1 year, then go a year without. We want a consistent budget. And after 5 or 6 years, squad cars start to break down. They're hard miles on the squad cars, not just because they're driving in Indian Head Park, but because of engine hours. So we want to be consistent with replacing equipment at all times. Same thing with our water mains. Water mains last 50 to 70 years. Well, guess what? We're 50 years old. Water mains need to be replaced. When I got here, we were running about $125,000 a year in water main breaks. We're running about 40 to 60 right now, so we really are on top of our water main replacement or repair. Completely reconstructed roads such as Acacia Drive should last about 20 years. Resurfaced roads like what we do typically should last 15 years. We're finding out maybe it's 10 years, so we have to reevaluate that. The sad part is we did a ton of roads in the year 2014-15, and some of those are starting to fail. I don't know if it was bad engineering or bad materials, but we do need to keep a watch on that. We have about 7 years ago on the bond payment, so we're already starting to fix stuff that we paid for with bonds. So it's not the best way to spend money, but we're working through it. The thing is, we have a fiscally conservative board. It's your money. It's the board's money. And we want to spend it wisely. And I think that's what the budget does for us. It's a plan for making the village a better place. It's a plan to spend money responsibly. And if you don't have any other questions, or I tell you what, let Andy do the capital projects presentation, and then we can take questions.
Sure, yeah. So first, for our road program, our estimated cost is going to be about $800,000, and this is going to include Acacia Circle, kind of like we spoke about earlier. And I also should point out on that map right there, the light pink color are going to be the roads that are going to be done this year in this upcoming budget. And so it's Acacia Circle, Big Bear Drive, Big Bear Court, Apache Drive, Arrowhead Court, and then Indian Head Trail from Big Bear Drive north. And again, that's going to cost about $800,000. Then we also are planning to replace at least 1 water main. Also, like we talked about earlier, Roofers Road, that might be an additional one, but we definitely want to replace part of a section of water main on Joliet Road. We've had water main breaks there this year and previous years, and the cost for that's going to be around $300,000. As far as vehicles and equipment, we are looking to get a new police vehicle. Like John said, we try to get one every year to make budgeting consistent, as well as a new public works truck. The police vehicle is going to cost around $65,000, and the public works truck is going to cost around $80,000. And that is not the public works truck that the board approved 2 months ago. We actually just got that truck this last week. This is a truck that was actually ordered months ago, but has been on back order, so we're going to be getting it next fiscal year. And then also we're going to get some new playground equipment at Sacagawea Park. The equipment there is getting a little bit outdated. And also, we just, the board just passed some task orders related to this, but we're going to have the pump station and the reservoir. Both are going to need repairs. The pump station is going to be around $1.5 million, and the reservoir repairs are to be determined still. But however, the village has $800,000 in water fund reserves saved for water capital projects like this. And then finally, for sanitary sewer and stormwater management, we are going to continue with our sanitary sewer televising program, in which cameras are sent into the sewer line to look for cracks or any damage. And then based off of what we find, we have $150,000 budgeted for repairs. And then also, as you know, the stormwater the stormwater study in 45 acres in Old Town is currently underway. We should be getting results in about a month. And then based on those results, then there's going to be projects to go along with it and how to improve the situation. So there also the costs are to be determined. But that's all I have for the main items for the capital project or capital plan.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions of me or Andy about the budget or capital plan?
Very nice presentation, John.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have a question, but I also, like Charlie just said, I appreciate your hard work. I know it takes the group, and I think you get awarded a distinguished budget presentation.
Yeah, every year, after the second year I was here, we've gotten it. So Helia, Andy, and I put together the award, and we send it off to the National Government Finance Officers Association, and they like what they see. So,
Well, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so...
Yeah, Tom, if I could, just one clarification in case somebody at home, on the roads that you showed in the pink, I noticed that Acacia Drive was not on there. That's still going forward, that will be done. We've talked about it tonight, but just so there's
Yes.
no confusion at home that it's not going to get done this year, it will.
Yes, to clarify, those roads are going to be part of our normal road program. Acacia Drive is, as you said, it's continued from last year. So, but yes, Acacia Drive should be starting up soon too.
Any other questions, comments? All right, so we have to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Thank you, Rita and Chris. Is that voice vote, Pat, or a roll call? Voice vote. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. All right, that has been approved, that we have closed the public hearing, correct? All right, next item is trustee reports. Start with Charlie.
Rita, you have one too, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We talked about this a little bit earlier, going to coordinate with staff the steps needed to review modifying the ordinance in regards to sheds. And we chatted about that, so we'll be coordinating that with staff, and the board and the public will get an opportunity to participate. And thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Rita?
Yeah, this was another matter brought before the Planning and Zoning Commission. 65th Street is a village street. It's directly north of the Bartlett subdivision off of Willow Springs Road. And if you drive over there, you see that about 5 homes back up to 65th Street. And several of the residents came before the Planning and Zoning and were concerned because people cut through their yards or they have small children and it's a street. And so they were asking if, I think part of it was they wanted to put up a fence for that reason. And I think the discussion then led into, should the village be putting up some sort of a barrier, since this is a village street, either a fence or shrubbery or natural vegetation to kind of shield these homes from the street.
6 o'clock.
So I wanted to bring that to the board's attention. It's kind of no different than, if you think about it, Wolf Road, where those people back up to Wolf Road and they kind of are responsible for shielding their property. But I'm not sure how the board would want to proceed with that, but I just did want to bring that to the attention of the board.
Yeah, I'll accent that. There have been a lot of residents' comments where people will be cutting through their yards because they, on their way to like Jewel and, or excuse me, Walgreens and the shopping center, as opposed to walking to Gilbert, Willow Springs Road and taking the sidewalk, then they just cut through.
All right, thank you. Anything else?
Oh, and I also wanted to mention, we did visit the Heritage Center, Andy, John, and I, and the village building inspector, and we're going to have a committee meeting in April with the Heritage Center committee, which I'll be contacting Trustee Metz to give more information about. But I will be coming back to the board with the findings of the village inspector and the results of our meeting in April.
Thank you. Trustee Metz?
The only thing I have to report is there's another Finance Committee meeting Monday, March 28th at 6 p.m.
And when I was thanking John and Andy and staff for the budget work, also want to thank the Finance Committee. So thank you, Chris.
You're welcome, and thank you for your work on the Finance Committee as well, Tom.
Sean?
Yeah, a couple things, and Andy just mentioned a couple of them, but I do want to point out that we did get the new snowplow truck. As some of you may remember, on January 2nd at about 4 o'clock in the morning, we had a snowplow catch fire. Interesting way to wake up in the middle of the night, to have loud explosions happening outside your bedroom window, but and your wife screaming at you to see what the heck's going on out there. But that truck is up and running, and looking at my camera outside my house a minute ago, it looks like it might be in use tonight. So we'll see with the small tires it has and all.
And nobody was hurt, right?
Nobody was hurt, and the infamous thermos was saved as well. The driver had a family heirloom thermos that he went back for and got out in time. But if you haven't seen it, and I understand the truck is now gone, correct?
Oh, yeah.
It was at Public Works for a while. It was pretty scary. The entire cab had completely melted away. There was no roof left. It was...
I think we put pictures and smoke signals, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay. Also from Public Works, we will be getting in approximately about a month that stormwater management report from Thomas Engineering. Once it's in our hands, we'll digest the findings. So stay tuned, guessing probably early summer to have more detailed reports on that for the board and the village residents. And lastly, from the Economic Committee, had met with the owner of Indian Head Plaza to discuss facade improvements. We're also looking at economic incentives to help fund those improvements, so stay tuned from that. So hopefully it won't be coming out of our pocket. Trustee Metz. And lastly, just a side note, right in front of the Heritage Center, if you've noticed, there's a new flashing crosswalk. There's also one right across the street from Highland School, and there's a third one further north on Wolf Road off of, I can't think of, 59th, I think that is. So happy for it. Glad that we have those there. Safe passage to school for kids. I notice them every morning and afternoon now. Even the crossing guards are using them during crossing time. So only thing I will say, and I think we talked about this at Public Works, is some of the people on the signs might be facing the wrong direction. So we're looking into getting those flipped to actually coincide with the direction the arrow's pointing. But glad to see those there.
The arrow was corrected.
Well,
One of the arrows was going straight and off to the right up in the air.
All right, the ones I noticed, the arrows are pointing correctly, but the people are going the opposite direction, so we need to turn them around, but that's it.
Thank you. If Trustee O'Loughlin was here, I'm sure she would say something about the Easter egg hunt.
Right.
Anybody know what day? Is that the 17th?
It was in the smoke signals.
April 17th.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. 16th? Saturday the 16th, maybe? Saturday the 16th. We'll have an announcement next month at the village meeting, so you got a month to get ready.
I know there's going to be pony rides. I know I signed a check for, and you did too, for pony rides. And I assume that's not for the board.
If you want to ride, Chris, they'll probably get you on that pony.
Sure, okay.
Lisa, I don't want to put you on the spot. Do you have a rough time frame for that? 11 to 1?
But more details next month when
Okay.
Brenda's here. And we have it in the smoke signal, so.
Pictures with the Easter Bunny, Easter egg hunt, pony rides.
And because Lisa can't be heard on the microphones, Lisa says there's pony rides, pictures with the Easter egg,
Easter Bunny.
Easter bunny, and an Easter egg hunt,
Petting zoo.
and a petting zoo. And you could get a picture with an egg, I guess, if you want. Okay, muddled through that pretty horribly. Village clerk, anything to report? Village treasurer's not here. Village attorney?
No report.
Village administrator?
I'm reviewing a water rate increase from Countryside. It will be in effective probably later on this summer, but it's a staff review. They send us this report every 2 years. We're going through it. So it'll probably be $2 to $3 a month increase in the water rates.
And this is infrastructure that Countryside does to get the water from McCook to our connection.
We are responsible for a certain percentage of the Countryside water system that pertains to Indian Head Park. So
Thank you. Anything else?
that's it.
Village administrator? Assistant village administrator, Andy?
Yeah, I have a few items. First, regarding the reevaluation of the shed ordinance, we'll get that posted in the newspaper so that we can hold a hearing in next month to start the process. And then also a few other things related to the waste franchise agreement. The week of March 25th, March 25th is a Friday, so that's going to be the pickup day for most residents. That is the week that yard waste collection begins again. And for that week and the second week, the week of April 1st, pickup of yard waste, no sticker will be required. It's free yard waste pickup for the first 2 weeks.
Yay.
And yeah. And then also Friday, May 13th is a spring cleanup day. If you are an SBC waste customer, you can put up to 5 cubic yards of bulk waste or garbage out to be picked up for 3 stickers. And to put that into context, 5 cubic yards is the equivalent of 10 95-gallon toters. So it is a lot. Wow. So we really encourage residents, if you got furniture especially, or just stuff you've been holding on to that you want to get rid of, that's the day to do it.
What day is that?
And that is May 13th.
Thank you.
That's free?
For 3 stickers.
Three stickers?
3 stickers, yeah.
And stickers can be bought?
They can be bought here or they can be bought at Oak Pantry. And then May 21st, also kind of in the theme of spring cleaning, May 21st is going to be our second annual electronics, paint, recycling, and shred day event. And that will be from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at 11308 West 70th Street, which is our Public Works building. We will have a lot of signs posted around town and also at the end of 70th Street on the day of. And that is another thing that we really encourage residents to take advantage of. Bring your old TVs, any phones, any electronics you can think of. Also paint or paper to get shredded. And if you're able to do it yourself, you can also bring refrigerators or white goods. Of course, you got to be able to get it in your vehicle yourself. But once you get it there, we can help you throw it away and recycle it. That's for waste franchise. And then also...
Wait. Most importantly, will there be free ice cream?
That's still to be determined.
No, I'd recommend it. It was nice last year.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
And is it too late to update those village goals? Couple $100 towards ice cream? Yeah.
And a pony ride?
Yeah. One final thing also, a little simplicity update. We're really happy to announce that we have over 350 subscribers on the app. Our goal when we first met with Simplicity was to get to 10% of residents, so around 400. So we are quickly approaching that. Another Simplicity update is one of the neat features of the app is that additional institutions related to Indian Head Park are able to include themselves in the app if residents want to follow them. For example,